Children are not learning, teachers are not teaching. The enabling spaces or environment where teaching and learning can take place are not conducive enough. Government is not funding education. Parents are not playing their roles. Technology is distracting children. So if we go on and on, all of this has given us the result that we have seen. So who will we blame?
In the recent examination results that was released by Jamb in 2024, almost 2 million people sat for this examination. It is reported that almost 1.5 million candidates failed this examination. And this has raised a national concern for people. What is happening? This is what we will be discussing today with a lecturer and currently special advisor to the Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Polytechnics and Technical Institutions in Nigeria. Sir, you're welcome to our show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, so what do you think? I mean, what do you have to say about the just released results by UTME?
Well, as a parent and a Nigerian, I should be disturbed. The statistics do not speak well, reflecting our reality as a society. I've heard the common saying, people tend to say exam is not a true test of knowledge. It is right, but it is also a mistake. The mistake with it is that anybody who has gone through learning, the expectation is that your learning will be tested. And one of the easiest ways that you can prove that learning has taken place is to sit for an exam and then pass the examinations, or to, in practical terms, demonstrate what you have learned. And so exams are a necessary evil as much as people don't like to write exams. And so we should be worried that our young stars who are preparing for tertiary education at that level will now have big challenges trying to pass entry examinations. It shows some of the dysfunctions that we have lived with as a society over a period of time that we don't like to talk about. But the results will always talk about what you don't want to talk about. What is it that we don't want to talk about? It is easy for people to say, to spank their children. This your result is a disgrace to our family. Nobody in our family has gotten this kind of result before. But that's not enough. It is also easy to say, upon all the school fees that I am paying, the school is not doing well teaching my children for them to pass. So we're blaming the school or the teachers. It is also easy to say, government has neglected education so that our destiny is in our own hands. And so on and so forth. There's no really one way to look at the problem. But just like you said in your background, it is a source of concern for us. We should be worried that children are enrolled to write examinations and about 72% of them could not score the average, which is 200 scores or grade over 400. We should be very, very, very worried. It's been a downward trend over the years. If you go back, the statistics are not impressive at all.
If you go to the street, and what people are saying is, of course, people and youths of nowadays are no longer interested in education, number one, because of course some of them have siblings at home who are graduates and are still depending on their parents for food. So that alone will, discourage them from wanting to even go to school. And then some parents do force their kids. So is it now wrong to force your child to go to school?
Well, I think it is even illegal for your child not to go to school. Yes, our laws say basic compulsory primary education, for instance. So the legal framework in Nigeria is suggestive that if you have a child, you don't take the child to school, you have committed an offense under Nigerian law. That's what the law says. So the expectation is that the government that has given that law should also complement that law by creating the necessary enabling environment and make it conducive and possible for people to afford to go to school. If we say the law says people should go to school and people cannot afford to go to school, then there's something wrong with the law. If we say the law says people should go to school and quality teaching and learning is not happening in the school, then there is a problem. But this is the position of basic education in Nigeria. And somebody might want to say, no, Nigerian law says everybody must go to university. Well, the law says basic compulsory primary education. So what do we do after somebody goes to primary education? See, there's a systemic failure that tends to suggest that if you go to secondary school, from secondary school, you are supposed to move on to the university. That is wrong. That is wrong. And I'm speaking here as an advisor to Vice Chairman House Committee on Technical Education. It is one of the areas where we missed the point. We missed the point because the 6334 system, which Nigeria is practicing, which is the current existing policy that has been reviewed to 694 system, is essentially to encourage people, for all of us not to go to the university. It is wrong for all of us to go to the university. It's surprising to you, yes? Now, because everybody is not meant to go to the university.
Wow.
The university is not a place for everybody. And until we realize that in Nigeria, we will keep having problems. Because what that system was designed to address is to say 6 years for basic education, 3 years for junior secondary. When you write junior WAEC, it is supposed to be determined at that point whether you are going for sciences or technical courses, engineering, mathematics, what you call STEM, or whether you are branching off to the arts or what have you. Now, it is also at that point that policy is supposed to encourage people whether they are supposed to break out and go to technical colleges. What happened in our technical colleges? Where are they? Where they teach you plumbing, carpentry, where they teach you basic auto mechanics and all of that. And that's why artisans are scarce. That's why you introduce a new technology into Nigeria, people are finding it difficult to understand because everybody wants to go to university and cram theory in their head and they don't have the practical knowledge. Polytechnics and technical institutions are supposed to provide technical knowledge for people and support the graduates who have gone to university to go and learn theory. Let me use mass communication, for instance, my discipline, what I read in school and what I teach. All of us cannot be on the console. All of us cannot be on the camera. All of us cannot do editing. It takes a special knowledge to be able to do so. Okay, I can sit here now and speak all the English that I can speak in the world. If you give me your rushes and footages, I don't know how to edit it. So somebody has to be trained differently to be able to do that. So we are ignoring that aspect of education that is technical oriented, and that's where we are having problems. Why are there no jobs? Because a lot of people have not learned skills. And I have asked students while active in classroom teaching that if you're going to spend an average of 14 to 16 years trying to get a qualification from primary to secondary to tertiary institution, let's calculate it together. Primary, 6 years, right? Secondary, another 6 years. That makes 12. If you had university, 5 years. That's total how much? This is 12 plus, so that's 17 years. And then you come out and you cannot edit pictures. What did you do with your 17 years? Okay. I would rather have somebody who I will say is better than you, who went to learn plumbing for only 3 years. And anywhere you take him to in the world, he will fix a plumbing problem. Because there will always be a plumbing problem. So what is the value of the qualification that we carry? It's important to look at it too. The value of the qualification that we carry as certificates, do they solve problems? If they don't solve problems, then there's a problem with that certification. Sorry, I'm branching off Jamb, but I'm looking generally at what the problem is. We have a basic problem because we fail to prioritize why people should go to school. Yes, go to school, write Jamb. After Jamb, what next? They give you admission, what next? You get certificate, what next? Can you solve a problem? Do you have a skill? This is the area I am even much more particular about.
when you were mentioning about the technical aspect, I was going to give you an experience. I like my final year in school. I met a classmate of mine. My secondary school. She was actually my senior in school. I knew she had finished. She was through with school. She had served. Surprisingly, I saw her in Polytechnic. I was like, "Listen, what are you doing here?" And she was like, "She's done. I know you're done with school. You served. So what are you doing?" But that she came to learn the practical aspects of her field of study.
Mm.
That what she got in school was a theoretical aspect that she came
Mm.
to learn. Okay, and I
Mm.
said, "Wait, you're welcome." So
Mm.
you see,
Mm.
now what do you think? Like, if we keep going on and on, people want to keep blaming the youths, and youths want to blame the educational system and all that. And in fact, the most part of it, now anybody, any layman will want like Yahoo Yahoo have spoiled the children now. Social media, that is the key point. But do you think social media, like allowing your kids to, is now wrong to for children to use social media?
Well, it is either here or there. I have not joined people to argue that social media is harmful to learning. No, I don't agree so. What I think, as society, as community, as family, as individual, you can see how I broke it down: society, community, family, and then individual. What I think is important is for us to understand what is the goal of education, or what is the philosophy of education. If the goal is purposeful, social media is supposed to complement it. Because whether you like it or not, these children will still be exposed to social media. So why don't you just leave them to be exposed positively in a way that it supports their learning? If we make social media, the problem now is that it is not technologies that are our problem, not new technologies. It is the application of the technologies. It is what we do with the technologies. Technologies are supposed to make life easier for all of us. So if you look at social media from that point of view, it's supposed to be a blessing. How? It's supposed to complement learning. I'll give you an instance. I have a 15-year-old daughter who just clocked 15 2 months ago, who is supposed to be in SS2, and who we made to write Jamb. And she scored very well. And we're now discussing with the mother that, if we knew that this girl can do very well, can score 270 plus, we would have even encouraged her to score 300 plus at that age, 15. At 15, I don't know my left from my right. But here was a girl of 15, still in SS2, attempting Jamb for the very, very first time. We just said, okay, let her go and try. Now, is she exposed to social media? Yes. That's a girl who has been using smartphone for nearly 2 years. But what does she do with smartphone? That's where parenting comes in. So our responsibility now is to now guide and make the new technology application a support for her education, a support for her learning. At the point of opening a Gmail account for her, her mother was enrolled as a parent. So it is a guided account. So anything she's doing with the account, the mother's phone, she's seeing it. Exactly. And then there's a limit to the sites or pages she can enter because she's under parental guidance. There are categories to which you can register people in social media accounts, for instance. All of them are being monitored and guided. So vigilance is important. As parents, our responsibility and duty is to put our eyes on them. What are they doing? What are they watching? There are parents, I'll tell you this, who, as we speak here, they don't know where their children are. Now, I know where my children are. They are more than nearly 180 kilometers away from me right now. But each of the three of them, I know where they are. So parenting is also very, very important. Our duties and responsibilities, how we allow them to handle technology and what they use technology to achieve is also important. Her senior brother, for instance, and his group of friends, through YouTube, they were able to design a game, an application. Can you imagine that, designing an application and putting it in their phone and the app is working before he even entered university? So if he is not exposed to social media, can he learn that? This thing that you people call coding, or what is it called? People are going to train for it. The boy is using YouTube to teach himself coding. So if I say social media is bad, he shouldn't go to YouTube, what have I done? I have not helped him. Exactly. So I think it is important that parents, teachers, even society generally, focuses on what is the benefit of social media or media generally, and how we can tap into that to support the growth and development of our children intellectually.
So, lastly, sir, do you think, like, from just still on the street, people say youth of nowadays are not interested in learning, they're interested in making quick money? What is your take on that?
It's very true. I've given a young child a lift with my car. And you know what he told me? I don't know him. Oh. I just picked him from the gate into school. Just gave him a lift. He said, "Sir, I like your car. When I graduate, I want to buy this type of car, the bigger version." And I said, God will help you. He will even give you the biggest version of it. But that was a message to me. The message here was that young people want it hot and fast. They don't want to waste time. They want to hit it big immediately. In fact, school is supposed to be a waste of time. How can they just, they won't blow. If I should put it in P, they won't hammer. Is it good? Yes. Is it a problem? Serious problem. I like the fact that young people can be ambitious because we are dealing with a different set of generation now. In my own days, before you score 200 in Jamb, say kabuga regeske, according to Hausa.
Yes.
It's not easy. But in this generation, we're having people scoring 340, 360. That tells you something. It means we're dealing with people who are thinking like robots. Generation Z or the Alpha generation, what they call them. Their brain, the thinking is very fast. And the way they are thinking fast, that's how their ambition is. They're already looking at how they will blow in the next 5 years. They don't want to waste time because they have looked at their fathers, they have looked at their grandfathers. They saw how their fathers wasted time, waste in quotes, before they made it in life. Now, it is good. Why? Because it propels ambition in them. But the danger here is that they ignore the process, or they take process for granted. Growth comes with process. It's not just an outcome thing. It's supposed to be input, process, output. So they are looking at input and output. They're not looking at the process. Process takes time. It takes effort. Okay? And that's why if you don't follow process, even when you become successful, your success cannot be sustainable because you have not learned lessons. I understand the street now because I have followed a process.
Yes.
Okay? I will not be a child that somebody will shout on and I will begin to cry. Because I didn't enjoy too much protection at home that made me socially vulnerable outside home. So building character in our children is to make them also understand that the virtue of legit hard work is also good. Working diligently to earn a living or to make success is important. It's much more important than even making the success. Because that is the only way you can appreciate the value of that success. And that's the only way you can even sustain that success. I'll give you an example. There are plenty people who inherited plenty money from their successful parents when their parents passed on or died. And they couldn't keep that money or enterprise for 2 years.
Why?
It folded up because the man died with his vision.
He didn't drop the
Yes,
vision.
the child inherited the money. He didn't inherit the
The
vision.
vision. That's true.
So we must teach our children to be visionary so that they can sustain wealth if they create it. If you are not able to create and sustain wealth, it becomes a problem. This is where I see the challenge with a lot of young people. They want to hit it big, but they don't want to follow the process. They don't have respect for procedures or for processes. So they are much more interested, focused on the goal. Yes, it's good to focus on the goal, but it's also good to develop what will make the goal sustainable.
Yes, that's well fine. So we've been on and on talking about the parents and then the system. What about the school system? There's a claim that most students don't know the school syllabus. Is it not the fault of the school, or is it that the syllabus is too much at their level? In my own part, like sometimes if I see my daughter's homework, they bring out, how on earth will they give such a young girl of just barely 5 years notes to be copying or terminologies to go and sort it out as homework?
Many of us complain too that when our children return home with homework, we tend to say it is we they are giving the homework. It's not the children, because sometimes you find that the homework, they are not in alignment with the child's age or stage of development. Now, we ran into this problem when education was liberalized, particularly at lower levels. At the point in time when we went to school, we went to public schools. I have never attended a private school all my life. I went to a school where you can't see decent buildings, but we had functional teachers. And we understand grammar, basic calculation, everything basic that comes with our age. We grew with it like that. It was in alignment. What happened then was that there was a proper curriculum, there was a proper regulation of schools in terms of the same curriculum. And then there were proper teachers. And then there were proper parents sending the children to school. Exactly, they were proper parents, because I was going to come back every day and be accountable. My father will ask me questions. He will ask me to read, to be sure whether they taught me in school. Now parents are busy looking for money. How many of us ask our children what they taught them? So in every stage, things went wrong. What went wrong more was that people took liberalization of schools for granted. And our car garages in our houses, we went to look for license and turn them to schools. So you see the garage of my backyard, I will say something, Grace International School. I will say top ranking international academy. And then people will bring their children, okay? And then they will finish primary school there. And coppers roaming the streets who don't have a flair for teaching, who were themselves not properly educated, I will bring them in to come and be teachers. So there is also a problem of functional teaching by way of the persons we recruit to do the job of teaching. The people who are teaching, are they qualified to teach? This is another question. Do they understand the basic rudiments required of teaching? Those days, for you to be called a teacher, you would have done grade 2. There's something called grade 2. If you're not a grade 2 teacher and you have escalated your education to the level of NCE before other higher qualifications, then you're not qualified to teach. Is it the same now? The answer is no. If you go to plenty of these schools, up to the head teacher, whether you want to call it headmaster or principal, they are not properly qualified. They themselves are not properly trained. Teaching has also become an all-comers affair. Anybody who looks for a job they can't get, and then at the end of the day, they will say, I better go they manage for here now. If they feel they pay you 15,000 naira. That's how people enroll and become teachers.
It's more like, this is, especially private school, it's more like a business than
Exactly.
than intending to impact knowledge on.
And let me just add this. In our days, we had inspectors. So there's something called monitoring and evaluation. Teaching and learning was not just left alone like that for people to do what they like. We will be in class. Teachers are teaching us. The teachers are looking through the window. They are afraid whether inspectors from Ministry of Education are coming. Because when inspectors come, they will stand by the window. They'll be looking at you. They'll be writing notes. The next thing is query will come to the teacher from ministry that the teacher is not teaching well. Or if you're a teacher, you sit down on your desk, you're selling granules, like some teachers do. They have become traders. Staff from ministry will see you, they will go and report you. So then we knew, even as small children, we knew that our teachers were afraid of somebody who was watching over them, whether they were doing properly or not. Where did we get it wrong as a country? None of that is happening now. Even in public schools, inspectors from ministry are not coming to look around what is going on in school. Teachers are doing what they like. Students are doing what they... Those days, if you're going to school, we used to trek now, you can't enter a vehicle. Life was easy, life was safe. If you don't talk in properly, even on the roadside, somebody will stop and tell you, what school are you? Give me your name. I'll go and report to you. Is this how to dress? I dress properly. Somebody who doesn't know you. Why? Because if you don't raise another man's child decently, that child will be a problem to your own child tomorrow.
That's good.
But now even the parents are not interested in raising their
Their
own children.
children on top
Talk less of raising another person's child.
So,
I don't know.
wow, that was quite an awesome moment there with you, sir.
I really don't know. I really
In fact, if we want to just keep going on and on, it's almost endless. So very quickly, if you just wrap up by giving us your advice, what you think as a teacher, as a lecturer, educationist, as a parent.
Okay, let's start with parents because everything rises and falls at the home front. Parents, I think we need to be more diligent. We need to be more responsive to our duties as parents. We need to follow up. It's not enough to put a child in school and be paying school fees. Follow up on it. Are you getting value for your money? In a lot of PTAs, I'm always a troubleshooter. People will say, that man don't come again. Because I will not take nonsense. I will go to PTA meeting and say, I'm not getting a fair deal. Oh. Parents, my parents, are we together? Other parents will shout, yes! And because I want the school to fix it and do something. I've had to change my children from one school. People say it's not good. I understand so, but I had to change my children at some point in their schools before they are now grown. Thank God for the background. Why? Because I want value. So I think it's important parents should be on top of their game. As you are doing that, cut your coats. There are parents who follow crowd effect to take their children to school. Because my neighbor, because the uniform fine, because the school big. Nonsense. And then because the school name popular. Nonsense. And then the child goes to school, he comes to speak fluent English, he cannot write it. Because they are speaking fluent English in that school. That was the attraction. So parents are failing in that regard. And let's not forget the moral component to it. The moral part of it too is important. As we're raising children, let's raise morally upright, spiritually upright. We can't leave everything to teachers. So it begins from the home, and we must take that seriously. And that's why everybody needs education, because it takes education to understand the value of education. If you have it, you will like it for your children. If you have it and your wife has it, the better for your child. So a lot of children whose mothers, may not be educated, they have an issue. They have limitations compared to a child whose father and mother is properly educated, not just carrying a certificate. So that's the level of parent. At the level of schools, I think schools, even teachers, need to act with good conscience. If you've been given a job to teach, it is a mandate from God. It's a serious responsibility. Forget about whether they are paying you very well for it or not. It means the destiny of that child is in your hand. You have a responsibility to train that child like your own. Teachers are not doing enough. So I would say at the level of teaching, teachers should teach with good conscience. School owners should pay teachers proper salary. You can't be collecting plenty school fees from their parents of these children, and you're paying stipends to teachers. Exactly. So, and the school is a social system, and it must reflect a proper system that works. At the level of policy and government, I think government should also pay attention to curriculum improvement. Most of the curricula we're dealing with in school, they are outdated. And some of them are at the mercy and discretion of teachers. Government should step in, okay, and properly supervise education and not leave it for everybody like a slaughter market where they are selling meat. It is anywhere you like, cut the meat, it is your business. It's not supposed to be like that. Government is supposed to direct schools on how schools should run and operate effectively because these are the leaders of tomorrow.
That was also one from Malam Balaraba Said, the lecturer, a parent, and an educationist too. So I'll leave you with this. They said, especially to parents, teach your children to be visionary so that they'll be able to sustain wealth. Is that right, sir? Yes. So if you find value for this video and it meets you well and you think you like it, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Most important, if you have any opinion or any other contrary to what we just discussed here, don't forget to drop it at the comment section and also like our channel too. I remain Sharifat Yahya. Have a great day.